Hola, good afternoon. Champions League day has arrived for Celtic. We are back in the big time. Lawrence, there is a real buzz around Celtic at this time, and it's just going to get even bigger tonight. But we're back in the Champions League, and you just couldn't have had a bigger game than welcoming the reigning champions of Europe, the 14th time winners of the competition, Real Madrid, to Celtic Park.
Yeah, definitely. We've warmed up nicely by demolishing the newest team in Scotland, and now we face arguably the most successful club team in the world, as you touched upon there. So I think everybody's going in, with a bit of optimism there. We dare to dream. The Green Brigade says, today we dare to win. Well, today we dare to dream. It's possible, isn't it? I've seen them beat Real Madrid before. So yeah, we can do it again, I'm sure.
Yep, you touched on that game from 1980. George McCluskey and Johnny Doyle, the late great Johnny Doyle, getting the score sheet for Celtic. Recreating a night like that, I think at Celtic Park would be special. Obviously, our tagline today is "Can Celtic emulate the class of 2012 by shocking Real Madrid in Europe?" Please, if you're in the comments, get in with your chat. We'll get you up. Hopefully, you're as excited as us for the game. I'm sure you are. Let's kick off, Lawrence. There was a lot of all the press stuff was happening yesterday. I was fortunate enough to be at Celtic Park on behalf of the Alternative View, speaking to Ange and Matt O'Reilly. And then last night I watched a wee clip with Martin O'Neill and Guillaume Balaguer, of course, very well respected Spanish journalist. I know you just very quickly want to touch on Martin O'Neill, which will lead us into his comments last night. So just give us your wee bit, Martin.
Yeah, the end of the month, 24th of September, there's a charity brunch at Nicky Hood's place, the DL Park in Motherwell. Last few tables remaining, £50 a ticket, but it'll be always good to go along, listen to Martin and his rapier sharp wit, and won the European Cup himself twice as a player, and manager of the team at Tennis to Seville. So yeah, it should be a good day, and obviously funds raised for charity as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Nicky Hood, a guy I know very well, obviously the son of the late great Harry Hood, a Celtic legend too. So yeah, that's one. If you haven't heard Martin's patter, I would certainly urge you to go along and see him. I was fortunate enough to meet the former Celtic boss back in April at the Willie Maley fundraiser at Celtic Park, and he was as sharp as a tack. So yeah, I think I would encourage anybody to go along to that if they can. So Lawrence, Martin was on with Guillaume Balaguer. We get both slants. Obviously, we get the Spanish perspective from Guillaume, and his rebuttal to Martin. Martin had basically made the point that Real Madrid, not just under Ancelotti, but in their history, don't tend to get started in the Champions League until later in the tournament. That was proven last year with FC Sheriff. Celtic, obviously a very different club to FC Sheriff. A lot of money was getting pumped into Sheriff at that point in time, but it has been proven in the past, only last year, that a club, nowhere near the riches and the quality of Real Madrid could pull off a shock against them. And Martin O'Neill thinks that there's absolutely no pressure in Celtic in this game, and it's just a free hit, and there's no reason why, looking at the group, that Celtic can't make an impression this year in the Champions League.
But exactly, if we to pick when we played Real Madrid, it's probably been the opening game at home with the crowd behind us. As you touched on, it can be a bit slow to get started. In the final game of the group when they've probably already qualified. So I think, fixture-wise, that's how we'd have picked it against Real Madrid. The team's in form. We're playing well. There's no reason why we can't go out there and do it. I'm sure Ange is going to, Ange believes in his style of football and his brand of football. It will create chances. Of the front six players in the park, every one of them is capable of scoring. So there's no reason why we can't do it. I'm fancying Celtic for 2-0 today.
2-0. That'd be very nice. Yeah, I think I walked away yesterday from the press conference anyway, Lawrence. I always believed that we probably could take something. I certainly think we'll score tonight. I think just with the way that we play football, and one of the points that Balaguer made last night, and the reason we're touching on this, obviously, Spanish football expert, knows all about Real Madrid, watches them a lot more often than probably both ourselves do. One of the things he said that they don't like under Ancelotti especially is teams being in their face and attacking them. And that's obviously something that's, get Ange Postecoglou stamped all over it. So with that in mind, I don't think this game is going to particularly suit Real Madrid for their opening game of the group stages.
No, definitely. They won't be used to kind of that size of crowd that's going to be back in Celtic. The noise, we've heard that every player, almost every big player that comes to Celtic Park speaks about the atmosphere, how intimidating it is for them. The style of football is going to be intimidating, but we're not going to give them a minute on the ball. We're not going to stand back and watch them. Ange is going to have them out there. As Paul says, it's going to be attack, attack, attack. It's the style of football that Ange plays. It's the style of football that we love. And, we've proven we can execute it so far well this season. That's all we play for. At the end of the day, it's 11 against 11. Back in 1980, no one was giving Celtic a chance against Real Madrid. But, what a game Alan Sneddon had. So it's there for the players to go out and make their name. You'll have players that are known this is their big chance. You'll have Ange. This is why he's became manager of Celtic. For days like today, to test himself at the highest level, to show that his brand of football works, then, I fully expect us to take something tonight.
Yeah, I think that's fair enough. Let's bring in Natasha. Natasha, good afternoon. How are you doing?
I'm good, thank you. Better late than never. Nice to join you guys.
No, you're absolutely fine. The buzz is obviously very real. Today, waking up, and we're talking just in that way. I don't know if you saw the wee clip last night from the 9-week game in Ballaghy, and Martin O'Neill, and both were giving us their perspectives on this. One of the comments, Natasha, coming in here is to say that they're a bit worried there's so much expectancy tonight. But I was saying to Lawrence, I think everybody's probably seen the clip from yesterday, but when Chris McLaughlin asked Ange about an expectancy and whether, that it should be tempered, and I thought his response to it was absolutely perfect. I think it's absolutely right that us as Celtic fans just now are excited tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. And as ever, Ange's response was absolutely spot on, as he always is in these conferences. Do you know what? It's a good thing that we're excited. It is. It is absolutely incredible that he and his team have got us in a position as fans that we are going to face the current holders of the Champions League at Celtic Park in the group stages, and that we're excited, and that there's this sort of cautious optimism that we're looking forward to it, and that there's a general sense around the place of, well, what if? Why not? Let's take it to them. Let's give it a go. And I think that just speaks absolutely volumes to, firstly, the football he's installed at Celtic Park, and secondly, the mentality he's installed at Celtic Park amongst the team and the fans, that this isn't a game that we need to fear or dread or be wary of or temper our expectations of. Football's there to be enjoyed. We go along to support our team and enjoy it, and why should we go in feeling any of those emotions that Chris McLaughlin tried to suggest, weary, dread, anything like that? No, let's go and enjoy it. And with the way the team are playing, with the way that we're performing, we've never been better placed to go into a game like this. So let's go in, let's give it our all, and let's enjoy the occasion. And do you know what? Who knows?
Who knows? Exactly. Let's bring in some comments here. John Francis, good afternoon. Coming in to say that Ange said yesterday, if we can be the best we can be, then we'll accept what comes before us. You can't expect much more than that. Absolutely not. Ryan Kelly also in here to say, regardless of tonight's result, it's just great to finally have a team of Real Madrid's quality in Glasgow. Absolutely. Lawrence, just to touch on one of Ange's probably standout comments yesterday was, we get 60,000 in here. It is hard-earned money they're putting in. What they want with that hard-earned money is not the satisfaction of them paying a bill. It gives them something in their life that money can't give them anywhere else. Tuesday night is a night for that. I think it's much like Natasha. We'll see what happens in the night. It's right that we're excited for it. And I totally agree that, that there's no reason why we shouldn't be excited, and we'll just see what happens.
Listen, it's sport, it's kind of from the Latin root, isn't it? The sport, to take you to another place, to where things are possible. And that's what Ange's building, for that 90 minutes. It's just possible we can beat them. That we can be the best in the night. That we can put in a shift, beat the top of our game, and beat Real Madrid. And I think he's got the fans believing, as Natasha said. And if we believe and back the team, nothing's impossible at Celtic Park.
No, absolutely not. Nothing is impossible, but we've showed it before, and I think it's about returning back to those nights, Natasha. And when I asked him yesterday about the part that we can do as fans turning up tonight, he said that we've got Champions League support. It's just about Celtic becoming a Champions League club, and you can see that vision that he's got for the club to do that. And I think but with what we've added to the squad in the summer, you're probably looking at this Celtic team, and you're probably going back probably 20 years ago to look at a Celtic team as well equipped for the Champions League. That's no disrespect to Gordon Strachan's team, who obviously had a great, bash at Europe, 2 last 16 qualifications, but that squad compared to this, it is completely different.
Yeah, it is. And, there's already, some big comparisons being made with this squad, comparing, to Martin O'Neill's squad. And yeah, we all have different opinions about whether it's there or whether it's not. I don't think it's there for me yet. But the fact that we are putting these squads in the same bracket as a team like that is just incredible. I think what we've seen over the last few years at Celtic Park, and again, no disrespect to what Gordon Strachan achieved, but the gap is certainly getting bigger between Celtic and the the elite Europe. The teams up there with all the money in the big leagues. The gap has been getting bigger, and the squad we've had available to us hasn't really been able to compete with that. The difference we're sort of feeling now, and again, this is said with a little bit of caution because we've not actually tested this squad really in Europe yet. Yes, we had last season, but Ange had a lot on his plate. It wasn't the focus. We know that, and we've heard about him talk about that Bodo game since. The focus was the league very much, rightly, I would say. But this is his first chance to really go and test his brand of football, his style of football with the squad we have available to us against some of these top European elite teams. And it'll be interesting to see how that gap looks. I mean, don't get us wrong, there's a gap. But I think instead of, going backwards, like we have been over the last few years, and the gap's grown bigger, I'm very interested to see whether this squad and Ange and his style of football actually starts to claw some of that gap back. And I want those nights back at Celtic Park where, we are unbeatable in that fortress. And I think, with what Ange is doing and the way things are going, again, I'm optimistic. Why can't it get back to that? I don't think there's any reason, and we've never had a better chance of starting to achieve that again in recent history than we do with this squad. So, yeah, very excited to see what happens.
Yeah, I'm absolutely buzzing too. Robert Hyland coming in here to say it's where we want to be. Let's show we deserve to be there. Just in terms of that gap, Natasha, I think that's a really, really good point, Lawrence. I want to bring you in this one. John Francis came in the comments. He said that he believes that Ange is narrowing that gap with his style of play. That's what's so amazing, outstanding about the man. I think back to sitting in this very room during the COVID days, watching Celtic get gubbed 4-1 home and away to Sparta Prague, and even then it looked as if there was a gap between Celtic and even Europa League teams of substandard Europa League teams. Sparta Prague are no special side, and to come, so quickly within, what is 2 seasons, going back to it, and it's phenomenal. And I think part of that gap narrowing is the recruitment. Finding players like your Kyogos, your Daizen Maedas, Hatates, O'Reilly, Juranoviches, and bringing in players that are going to put in the performances and are going to keep developing and getting better and better.
Yeah, huge part is the recruitment. Tosh and team obviously doing well there, but I think the main part it's probably given us a focus, giving us an identity. This is the style we play. And part of that is, you recruit players to play that style. 2 years ago, what would you say the style was? Was it as well defined as Ange's that defined it? I don't think so. You look at the players, they enjoy playing this way, it's playing football. It's attacking, it's giving yourself a chance, it's having belief in yourself that you know what, we will create chances. And we'll take a percentage of those chances. We keep it tight at the back. It's possible tonight, more than possible. The recruitment's been great. I think Jared told us the second season was when it gets really good. So far it's looking that way. Yeah. Tonight could be just one of those special nights under, the disco lights, not the drencher light, but the disco lights at Celtic Park, the debut in the Champions League.
Yeah, those disco lights, which have caused, some amount of controversy over the years, they are going to be switched on in the Champions League tonight at Celtic Park. Let's go to some of the other comments here, Natasha. just to pick up on this one from Christopher, does the Bulletin on Tuesdays always have this lineup now? Yes, we do. Unfortunately, we are going to be a comrade down. Patrick has got a new job. Unfortunately, can't join us. Hopefully, at one point, we will see him return to Acsom, but he's still a very firm member of the team, and all of us three, and I'm sure all the commenters wish him all the very best in his new job. Natasha, let me come to you in this one here. Somebody's mentioned, that it's here. If we turn over Real Madrid, to be very surprised. We're only 6 months on, 6 months or so on from the FK Bodo Glimt no-show. You were one of the unfortunate souls that went out to Norway and were in sub-zero Arctic conditions out there. But I think, Ange's been quite honest in that after the home game, he basically just chucked it after it.
Yeah, I mean, that is one way of putting it. I think he put it much more eloquently than we could. But yeah, his focus is the league, like I touched on, and at that moment in time, with all the circumstances taken into account, that was absolutely, in hindsight, the right thing to do. I mean, it didn't make it an easy evening for those of us in -12 hailstorm in Bodo. But I think that we are so far detached from that performance now. What he's been able to achieve since then has really taken us away from that. You just have to kind of look at the squad that he put out as well. We did not go full strength into that second leg there, and we saved our efforts for the league. Now we've got more time under our belt. We've got that very important league win under our belt. We've got full pre-season under Ange under our belt without any disruption or overhaul needed. We've got in the players we wanted to get in. We've moved out the players we wanted to move out. So yes, it has only been 6 months since that awful night in Norway, but what we managed to achieve in that 6 months is what is important. And I think it has taken us on leaps and bounds from that night. And I think we're now we're going to get to experience very different Ange in Europe. There's no getting away from the fact that last season it didn't really happen. It didn't work. This season is when we're really going to get to see what Ange and the Celtic team can achieve in Europe. And I'm excited for it. So even just talking here right now, it's almost feels a bit surreal that we're sitting having this discussion about match day. We're doing the pre-match show, and our pre-match, the game we're talking about is Real Madrid at Celtic Park, and we're talking about it with this positivity. Honestly, just even sitting listening to Lauren speak about there, I'm sitting here smiling at the anticipation of what's ahead of us tonight. Yeah, the excitement's definitely building here for me. I can't wait, get the afternoon over and done with and get out to Celtic Park.
Yeah, I'm much the same. And again, I said earlier on, I walked away yesterday thinking, yeah, we can get a result here. And you could even say that from Matt O'Reilly. He said at lunchtime yesterday, there's absolutely no point him being in the game or being at a club like Celtic if they didn't have that belief that they could go and get the job done. And I think if you look back at that Bodo game, if you look back at the team that played, I think there's a good point, and you made there, Natasha. His 6 months on, the squad is far more stronger. I think if you think back to Ange's post-match comments after the Raith Rovers game, where he spoke about players not stepping up to probably the standard that was expecting. Obviously, the same month, I think that game just was either wedged in between Bodo or afterwards. The squad's improved, and I think it also was a big hurdle for the players that hadn't won the league title to get that over the line. From a mental perspective, It's very, very difficult winning leagues. Not too many teams, unless you're maybe playing in Bundesliga and you're Bayern Munich, do it on all so many often occasions. And it's just a case that we've came far from there. And even if I think back to that February time, Celtic didn't drop off. We were still winning games of football, but if you think back to that game up in Pittodrie, won the game 3-2, but it was a bit shaky at times. So I think we certainly came a long way from that game, and that we can certainly do something tonight. Lawrence, you spoke about Celtic getting forward, attacking Real Madrid. I think one of the key things in our game tonight is going to be focus, and it's whenever we do press Madrid, if they break the high press, it's about not getting that sucker punch. We've watched it countless times at Celtic Park. Copenhagen, a fine example of it. Switch off and bang the balls in the back of the net. It's something that doesn't probably happen in Scottish football all too often to Celtic, but it can happen to Europe, and that's why focus is going to be really, really key tonight.
Yeah, I mean, it's part of We Don't Stop, isn't it? Everyone's got a job to do and needs to know it. And they need to be on it for 90 minutes, from the first whistle to the last. We know we're going to need to be at the top of our game, but the way Ange has them playing this season, there's no reason why they can't be at the top of their game.
No, absolutely not. And there is belief in the team, that there's form in the team, and that builds well going into the game today. Just to give this a mention, good thing to mention. Yep, Celtic B up against Real Madrid B. I think it's through in Pennycar Stadium through in Airdrie. So if you are in and around that area, it will be there. I think it's also possibly on UEFA TV online. So maybe one to tune into if you want to see some Celtic talent and Madrid talent. It's likely that there will be a few players in there that will end up featuring in both clubs' first teams in the not too distant future. Natasha, Celtic's defence, Lubo's saying here that he thinks that CCV will probably have still some room left in his back pocket for Benzema. Antonio Cholak's in there along with Alfredo, the competition winner. He was described as by Andy Bush off Absolute Radio. He said he looked like somebody who'd won a competition to get onto the park on Saturday. It looks as though Moritz Jens is probably going to be the guy that comes in there, but I think he's more than capable to come in. And again, he got a 1-inch draw while part of a Lorient team last season, get up against Lionel Messi. So it's not as if he's not played quality opposition before, and he's more than able. I think he's played 5 games or so since coming in at Celtic.
Yeah, I have absolutely no concerns about Jens coming into that back line. I think he's looked really competent, very self-assured, very good on the ball when he's come in. And I think, again, this is the perfect example of how important it is to have 2 players for every position. And that's what we've created with the squad we've got at the moment, is the fact that the guys stepping in, so say I know we don't have a first 11, but say you do have, who you normally start as your first 11, everyone who can come in and step into their shoes, should they, be unavailable, is at the level we need them to be. So if you're making these substitutions or making these replacements, the quality isn't dropping off. So that's something that's really changed for me this season, is that we lose a player, I'm not actually concerned at not having an able replacement. Yes, we've lost Starfelt. This time last season, that could have been a real issue for us. But because of the solid recruitment, we've now got someone who can step into Starfelt's shoes, who is, in my opinion, just as capable of doing the job as Starfelt is. And this is a good example of it, but we do actually have that in every single position on the park. We even saw that against Rangers when Kyogo had to go off. We had a very able deputy in Giacomakis. The quality doesn't drop despite you losing that sort of player from the first 11. So yes, we've lost Starfelt, not ideal, but again, relatively relaxed about it because we've got someone of Jens's quality who can come in. Don't get me wrong, we are talking here about we're being excited and optimistic, and absolutely we should be. But then you're looking at names like, Benzema, and we need to remember that this is a very, very good team. We're playing with very, very quality players. And the thing about quality players is they can punish you in a second. You can't switch off. You have to be absolutely on it for the full 90 plus whatever minutes. And these players can punish you with a bit of quality that you just didn't see coming. So, we do have to be aware of that. We have to be aware of the risk. Nobody is saying with all this excitement and optimism that they aren't a quality team who are going into this match as favourites. But, I'm not concerned about, our players not being up to our level. We can only play to the best of our ability. We can only put out a team that can play to the best a Celtic team can. And Jens is up there for me. So, that back line, which, we think is going to be Juranovic, Cameron Carter-Vickers, Jens, Greg Taylor, that's good with me. That's something that I'm feeling as absolutely confident as we can be going into this game.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's important. I actually, in an article this morning, described Moritz Jens as probably one of our most underrated summer signings, just with the part that he's played since coming in. He's added something to the squad. Lawrence, you had made the point, I think, back in January, that Julian's time was up at the club. We knew we had to get a replacement in, and very similar stature to Julian. He actually reminds me, he just looks a lot more confident on me, strong in the ball, and just to picking up what Natasha says there, I think like possibly everyone else in Celtic Park, when Kyogo went down on Saturday, there's a wee bit of fear that your game plan's out the window and whatnot. But Callum McGregor says after the game, first class, Giacomakis comes in, does everything, and you can tell it's just a well-oiled machine. That is the only way to describe this Celtic team. One drops out, one goes in now, and it still works. It's not like last season when you maybe make 2 or 3 changes, like that Bodo game, possibly you could say, back in February when players drop out, other guys go in. Now you'd be quite confident if you do make so many changes, much like the game up in Ross County, which was difficult, people can come in and do the job.
Yeah, the system doesn't change. The guys are drilled in it and how to play it now. System doesn't change. One guy drops out, another slots in. We play the same system. We are excited, but there's another thing. Ancelotti's not won at Celtic Park. I think he's managed 3 times. With Milan, and nobody gave us a chance against Milan. So he doesn't have the best record at Celtic Park as manager. So it's there to play for. We beat Milan. No one said we could. We beat Barcelona. The last time we played Madrid back in '80, we beat them, and these things are possible. We've got a decent squad. They're going to be full of confidence. They'll have fans behind them. And they're in the Champions League. But they're going to want to go out and prove themselves against the best, much as our manager does. This is where his career's been leading to. When he started off in Australia, this is kind of what Ange's been dreaming of, testing his football at the highest level. And what a platform to do it on. And I honestly think we'll take something tonight.
Yeah,
I love this optimism. I really do. It's only making me more excited for tonight to come on here and be talking about how we're going to take something off the current holders. I absolutely love it, guys. I'm here for this.
Yep. No, I agree with you, Lawrence. And I think Matt O'Reilly, Ange Postecoglou and everybody inside Celtic Park do. We were on that subject of Moritz Jens. Tuesday Regular Ridiculous came in here. He said he would have played Welsh before Jens. He believed that he was sorry against Ross County. He believes that Jens was at fault for the goal in the second half, and he cannot understand the disrespect for Stephen Wells. It's not disrespect for Stephen Wells. He was in the stand in a tracksuit on Saturday. He wasn't even on the bench, and Jens obviously came on for injured Starfelt, so it would just appear that Jens would come in, but likely Stephen Welsh obviously on the bench, but Starfelt going to be missing in the game. That was my Sean Connery impression there, that mission. Don't know where I got that from. But yeah, likely to see Stephen Welsh come in on the bench, more than able deputy to come on onto the bench there, but it just looks like from Starfelt going off, Jens obviously coming on, it will likely be him. I really feel for Carl Starfelt. This is a absolutely massive game, and he's not going to be involved, obviously out with the knee injury. Natasha, some good news yesterday. Mark Benstead told us that Kyogo appeared in training. What do you think? Do you think we could see him in the game, or do you think? Certainly, I think we'll see him in the game. Do you think he'll start? I know that Matt O'Reilly, when asked about it yesterday, said he looked like Kyogo in training, and that's always a good thing. He seemed to be moving fine. Do you think Angel go with his Japanese striker?
Yeah, I do. I think we'll see Kyogo start. I'm not sure he'll get the 90 minutes. We'll see how his fitness is, but I definitely think that he'll start the game. I think what he's going to bring us is that really harassing the defence. I think we need, and I think that's something that Real Madrid might not be used to coming up against, and is very much going to take our style and game to them. And I think a key part of that is having Kyogo absolutely harassing their back line constantly. I think I was reading the stat that they have lost a goal in every game they've played so far this season.
Yeah, but certainly Balaguer said last night the games against Almeria and Espanyol that they looked as though they might draw or lose the game.
So not quite as solid at the back as we've known that side to be. So if we have someone like Kyogo constantly harassing them, constantly pressing them, for as long as he's on the pitch, I like that, and I think that's the sort of thing that'll get us further up the pitch. That'll get us give them a little bit less time on the ball, make them less assured, and I think Kyogo's important to that. So I think we will see him start. Harshan Giacomakis, I thought he was excellent again at the weekend, as he always is. But I think one thing that those players understand very much so is that, we are going to be utilising the squad like this. There's a lot of games coming up. They're all going to have a part to play in some way. But I think Giacomakis might be off the bench.
Lawrence, what's your take on this? I thought, much like Natasha, he came on, did his job very well, absolutely bullied Connor Goldson again at the back. But I think for the point that Natasha makes just in that pressing and how Celtic are probably going to go at Real Madrid first, you're likely to see Kyogo do that more than Big Jacko. But I do imagine you will eventually see Giacomakis in the game.
Yeah, I mean, Ange uses the squad brilliantly, throughout the game. You expect to see 5 of the front 6 change. So, yeah, Kyogo will probably start, but if he doesn't, you'd see him come on at some point. So both of them are going to get minutes, and it'll give the Real Madrid players something different to think about when they're up against them. Hopefully Kyogo goes 100%. But I don't think they're going to like the press not getting time on the ball to pick a pass at the back. Not getting time just to play it out, to be people on top of them. Whether it's Kyogo or Giakoumakis, they're going to be closing them down. That's our style when we don't have the ball. We close them down, we press, we put them under pressure, we try and win it back or force them into mistakes just to create chances for ourselves. So, while a slightly different style of player, the system's not going to change, is it? We're going to be on top of them from kickoff.
Yeah, we absolutely will be on top of them from kickoff. The other big call that we're going to need to talk about is going to be the forward three. We've obviously just had our take there on whether it'll be Kyogo or Jacko. Lawrence, are you agreeing that you think it'll be Kyogo too?
Yeah, I think Kyogo will start. Yeah.
Abada, 2 goals at the weekend. I've been one who has spoken that, so much about the part that Maeda plays it in Celtic, just in the system and his pressing and his work off the ball. But I think, to me personally, I don't see how you can drop Lil Abada after these 2 goals at the weekend, Natasha. I thought it was absolutely terrific. He tortured Borna Barisic once again, takes 2 goals very well, has intelligence for the positions of the goal, just to get in those positions, obviously coming in centrally from the right-hand side. And again, we know that Abada can press the defenders too.
Yeah, for me, I would start Abada. But I mean, what a problem to have that we're sitting here talking about Abada or Maeda. They're all so competent. Our front line is frightening. And any defence, I don't care if it's, Real Madrid or Ross County, any defence is scared of that front line on form. Abada, for me, the way he's playing right now, the goals he's scoring, the way his confidence will be, the way he's linking up with the others in the forward line, I think that Abada just gets the nod ahead of Maeda. It's harsh, it is, because Maeda's obviously been excellent. The other thing, that Maeda could bring to it is that sort of pressing, again, similarly to Kyogo. Maeda does not stop. He does not give you a second, and a team like Real Madrid aren't used to really not having a second on the ball, but that's something Maeda and Kyogo wouldn't give them. But I agree with Sean, who's coming in the comments there, that's on the screen. Abada's made himself undroppable. So I think, for me, Abada's going to get the nod. And I'm excited to see what he can bring. But like we've seen before, we use that forward line with the substitutions so well. And in previous years, we'd see the quality drop slightly if we made, those sort of 5 changes that Lawrence mentioned. That additional substitutions become, a bit of a hindrance as well. And that, if you are making that many changes, it disrupts the team, it unsettles it. The players coming in aren't as good. None of that concerns me this year. Now, with the squad that we have, when we are making those 5 substitutions, the quality isn't dropping. All we're doing is refreshing the talent rather than anything. So these defenders are going to go from having faced Kyogo and Abada on them constantly, and then, come 60 minutes, you get a fully fresh Maeda pressing you, within seconds. I mean, that's such a good position to be in. And I think what we have seen, as we've touched on, is excellent squad management throughout the games. And I think we'll see that tonight, like Michael's saying there. Are we concerned about which one starts? No, they are going to do the job equally as well, I believe. I think all the players that we are mentioning right now will have a part to play over the course of the game. It just depends who plays what part. And for me, I think the forward line is going to be Jota, Kyogo and Abada. And then, we'll have Maeda and probably Giakoumakis off the bench. And yeah, nice position to be in.
Yeah, possibly even Sietak Sebanovic too. I know we've only saw one very small flash of him, but he's a player that we know can be defensive nightmares for players from his time in both Sweden and in Russia. He's a decent winger, so we might even see him. But definitely, whoever it is, I definitely think you'll see at least 5 of the Celtics attack tonight. Lawrence, what's your take on this one with Abada and Maeda? A lot are coming in here. It's great that we're getting such a difference in opinion on this one. I think that's really healthy that we've got that and that we're actually having. It's very nice that that's the headache that we've got into tonight. Aidan coming in here to say that he thinks it'd be harsh on Abada, but does Maeda start for the press and the defence. Something else that John's came in with to say is that he's worried about Abada's lack of defensive awareness. He believes that Maeda is better at tracking back and pressing. It's a tactical change that he would make. He says that Abada's been great, but he believes that it doesn't suit the fixture. What's your take on this one?
Yeah, definitely start Maeda. You know, probably for both those reasons. I think he'll unsettle him more. He presses quicker than Abada. He's just non-stop. He's definitely got Duracell in him. You know, I think defensively he's more aware. He tracks back better. So I would start Maeda and bring him Abada on. But I think we can all agree that both of them are going to get minutes. You know, and both will pose problems to the Real defence. But for me, yeah, Maeda to start, unsettled at the beginning. I think he's more defensively minded as well, tracks back better. So, yeah, I would start Maeda and have Abada coming off the bench.
There we go. It's 2-1 on the panel. Any of us could be right. Again, I think much like you, Natasha, I'm not too worried who the front three is. But we do know, I've read countless times that Ange, you know, I think Scott McDonald said at one point he was his captain and the youth set up over in the Socceroos and he dropped him for the next game after he'd scored a hat-trick or something. So he has got a track record of doing it. It just depends.
He's not sentimental.
He's not sentimental at all, and he will pick the team he believes best to beat Real Madrid, and we'll have confidence in that team. Another thing to come on here to ask you both about, I'll come to you in this first, Natasha, is Alan's asking in here, do you think we'll see the double pivot at all, or the usual midfield trio? I think with the way that Hatate, O'Reilly and McGregor just ran over the top of Rangers at the weekend, there's a lot of fluidity in that midfield. I think that'll be a big part of our high press tonight, and the energy that we've got in there, because I think we'll definitely go gung-ho. I certainly think the only way we'd maybe see that double pivot is if Celtic maybe try to see the game out in the latter stages of the game, or if we were sitting in, but we're definitely not going to be doing that against Real Madrid.
No, we're not. We're going for it, and for that reason, I think it'll be the usual midfield trio. He's going to play his style of football. His style of football works with those three in the middle of the park, so that's what we're going to go with. I'd be very surprised to see any changes to that. You know, the one thing I am looking forward to seeing is how Abelsgaard comes in and helps us sort of, you know, see out games or shore up the middle of that park a little bit. I thought at times towards the end of the game against Rangers, there was a slight bit of overrunning in the midfield that we could have just done with someone like him to sit in a little bit deeper, shore that up, help out the defence slightly to stop so much of the press coming onto them. So I think in time we'll start to see how he can benefit us, particularly towards the latter stages of the game. I think it's probably too soon to see that tonight. Although I wouldn't be surprised to maybe see Moy come in, depending on how the game's going towards the latter stages. So we'll see, but definitely in terms of starting, we're gonna go with that midfield trio. And again, I think O'Reilly was particularly good at the weekend. I think he is in really good form right now. I look forward to seeing what he can do. But again, we can't take our eye off the fact that we're coming up against a very, very, very good team here. We hadn't particularly been tested before we played Rangers. I'm not sure we were overly tested when we did play them. This is a totally different ball game that we're playing tonight. Yes, it's still football, Ange will tell us. Still 22 guys on a pitch playing football. But the quality that we're coming up against, I don't think we can underestimate how much that is also going to affect what we're able to do as well. Yes, we'll go out there and try and play our own game as much as we can. Yes, we're all very positive and optimistic. But if you come up against players of that quality on the ball, it is going to affect what you're able to do on it a bit as well. So we'll go with the midfield trio, I think. You know, we'll stick with that. Quite what they're able to do and how they're able to control the middle of that park, I don't think is going to be the same as we've seen in previous games. But they're the right three in there to perform to the absolute best we possibly can.
Yeah, I agree with you in that one. Lawrence, what's your take on this one? Do you see that same trio that just ran over the top of Rangers be the midfield three for tonight?
I could see him starting Moy instead of Hatate.
Nah, no chance.
Jared's on record as saying
no chance with the way Hatate played on Saturday. No
He's won
chance at all.
the league with a double pivot before. Unless you push Callum further forward and switch to a double pivot during the game, depending on whether you get the ball or not. So it's a wee bit more flexible. So that's the only change I could see starting. If he doesn't do it, I couldn't see Turnbull coming in.
No.
So that's the only kind of change I could see him doing. He's got a lot of faith in Moy, hasn't he? So he's looked really good. He's been getting the minutes in his legs. That's the call. I think O'Reilly definitely starts, Callum definitely starts, and it's either Hatate or Moy. I think that's what it comes down to. Will they go for a wee bit more experience in Moy, or will they go with Hatate? Because some of those balls from the weekend, the crossfield balls were just outstanding. He's absolutely in form. But that's the only change I could see. Callum definitely starts, and I think O'Reilly definitely starts.
I think probably, on Aaron Moy, I would say that had he maybe played more from the start, you could maybe have a point there, Lawrence. But the fact that we've only seen him so far start one game for Celtic and Dingwall in the Cup, I just think he's, if he's maybe building him up to that point, if he was thinking about playing him against Real Madrid from the start, you'd have seen him start from the, maybe up in Tannadice or wherever, or against Hearts at home. But I do think we'll see Aaron Moy at some point tonight. But I think for the high press, I don't think Aaron Moy's maybe probably got it in the legs or what Ange should be looking for from his team tonight. But I certainly do think you'll see him featured. But I thought Rio Hatate was absolutely excellent at the weekend. Edward coming in here to tell me he dropped him after a hat-trick and then took the captaincy off him. So yeah, there's one that there is definitely no sentimentality with Ange Postecoglou, and really we can't predict what the lineup will be. But Sean coming in here to say that it's ridiculous. I hope the big man's gave us. Absolutely, this was a team that was on its knees. I keep saying that. I don't think any of us could have imagined that we'd be having these conversations. And here we are.
And we need to appreciate it as well, don't we? We need to appreciate that. I think it's very easy to get caught up in where we are and the excitement and the energy. But I think we will, nobody wants to think back. We don't. We want to pretend it didn't happen, but it did. But if you just take a second to think back to where we were not that, far ago, and to think where we are now, that turnaround is incredible. We really do need to appreciate it from where we were to now sitting here today, the three of us talking about taking something off Real Madrid. I mean, how many times have we said it? 100 times. But we cannot underestimate the job that Ange has done with that team in terms of the way we're playing, in terms of the recruitment. So, yeah, all credit to him. I think I've said that 100 times over the course of the last while. But, yeah, I mean, it's just fantastic, isn't it?
Yeah, it is absolutely fantastic. And, I think if you... That Jockstein quote about Celtic building up their own legends, this is a real chance tonight for players to make their mark and write their names into the history books, much like Tony Watt did back in 2012 with that Ian Crocker commentary about he's written his name into Celtic folklore. Lawrence, we've spoken about positions where there might have been question marks about. One position we know that there won't be any question mark about will be the goalkeeper's position. Paddy's came in earlier on to ask, do you think that Joe Hart will have a howler in him tonight?
Don't say that. Oh my God, Paddy. Don't say that.
Or of the game of his life. Now, just to settle everybody down, the last time Joe Hart played against Real Madrid, he was absolutely sensational for Manchester City. So I think Joe Hart, if he is tested tonight, will be absolutely fine. Lawrence, what's your take?
Yeah, 100% faith in Big Joe. He's been there and done it as a goalkeeper before. And I think he inspires confidence throughout the team. Yeah, I think Joe's he's going to need to be at the top of his game, but he's pulled off saves. Look at that save from Callum McGregor. Callum was just keeping Joe on his toes at the weekend. Cracking save from him.
Is this the one that would have been an own goal?
Indeed, mate. He had to make Joe feel part of the game, didn't he? So it's kind of just bring him into it a bit. But yeah, listen, there's no debate over it. Joe starts. Yeah, and hopefully it's a cracking game. Hopefully it doesn't need to, Hopefully the front three are banging them in for fun.
Yeah, hopefully Benzema and co aren't anywhere near the Celtic penalty box. But Natasha, it is likely they will be testing Joe Hart. And again, I think any kind of big performance that Celtic's had, certainly that I can think of ever since I've been born, the goalkeeper's always probably had a big performance. And,
Mhm.
if we are going to get a result tonight, Joe Hart's going to need to have that performance. But I've every faith that he can have a big performance. That this is somebody that's played plenty of times in the Champions League and up against quality opposition.
Yeah, I think this is going to be a very big game for Joe in a number of ways. He knows this competition very well. He's one of the more experienced players in the team, and not just domestically in Champions League experience as well. He brings that, so I think that's going to be so important for the guys in the dressing room who haven't experienced this before. We already know the impact he has in the dressing room anyway. I think that's going to be particularly important tonight. On the field, equally important, if not more so. We've seen plenty of examples in recent history of how important a goalkeeper is in a game and the difference a good goalkeeper and an average goalkeeper can make to an end result. Joe's a very good goalkeeper. We've seen him, do that. I think, remember back to one of the I can't remember which game, one of the qualifiers last season, one of Joe's first games.
Alkmaar.
That's right. He pulled out two big saves, and the crowd celebrated that like a goal because we hadn't had a goalkeeper do that for us in a while. No disrespect to Barkas, but unfortunately he wasn't able to do that. Joe came in and offered that. He needs to do that again tonight, and I think he will. I think he's got the ability, he's got the experience, he's got the mentality. It's going to be a big game for him tonight, and I think he'll have a good one. And games like this really do give you the mark of players, don't they? And this is a game that I feel like someone like Joe is going to take by the scruff of the neck and own. Let's be real about it. He is going to come under a lot of pressure tonight. They have quality players who can catch you on the break and can convert chances. If they get an opportunity, they're not missing it. They are absolutely taking it. And because of that, we need Joe at the top of his game. Something he's not used to having to be called into action very much. I think it would be very interesting to read how many saves he's actually had to make in the opening 6 games of the season. I don't think it'll be very many. He'll probably have to end up making more tonight than he has in those games combined. But I've got the confidence in him that he'll be up to the challenge when called on.
Yeah, I'm just looking here. He last played Real Madrid in 2016. Clean sheet at the Etihad against them, and they lost 1-0 over in the Bernabeu. So I'm sure he'd be quite happy if he got a clean sheet against Real Madrid tonight. He's played 39 times in the Champions League. This will be his 40th appearance in the Champions League tonight for Joe Hart. So plenty of experience, Lawrence. He's a leader in our team, and I think a lot what Natasha's saying there. He'll thrive in this type of game, and you'll see his leadership credentials help through the team. Andrew's been one who's emphasised that really, apart from Callum McGregor and probably James Forrest, nobody else has experienced this too much. Obviously, Tony Ralston is another one who has, but it's a fresh group of players that hasn't experienced the big Champions League night at Celtic Park, and I'm sure they're all really looking forward to it.
Yeah, definitely. I suppose it's life begins at 40 for Joe. He's going to see what a real Champions League
That was sharp.
is like. I said, I think we're lucky to have him, aren't we? He's just an absolutely top keeper. The defence in front of him, it's going to be Juranovic, Taylor, Jensen, Cameron Carter-Vickers. I don't think we're going to see any surprises there. And, it's a solid foundation for the front six to go and attack on, isn't it? And to create chances, I think Joe's going to be huge for us. But, we'll wait to see what tonight brings. What kind of Madrid turns up. They're a decent team, but how up for the game are they going to be? This isn't their biggest game. For a lot of our players, this is our biggest game. It's, we're going out with something to prove. Real's maybe looking and going, we don't have a lot to prove. They're traditionally slow starters. The scene's set. All we need to do is go out and play handball. And I think we'll get the reward if we do.
Oh, it's so exciting, isn't it?
Yep, the work is done and the stage is set. Absolutely, Lawrence. I think another really good point coming in here from Ian is that Ange, Natasha will definitely learn from tonight's game either way, even to the extent that if we get beat tonight, that he will learn. I think yesterday, again, last season in the Europa League was a good barometer in his first season to test ourselves against good opposition. Real Madrid obviously playing Real Betis at the weekend there, a team that we faced last season, had a hell of a good crack at away from home with a very poor team. If you ever look at that team that started that game, there's not too many left within there. Beat them at Celtic Park. It was very clear to emphasise yesterday that, you know, last year in the Europa League, Celtic won 3 games, 3 tough games, obviously beating Ferencvaros home and away and Betis at home. And he said that if we can complete this group stage having won 3 games and have a right good go and 2 away games against, you know, obviously that was Leverkusen and Betis, and you know, a game at Celtic Park, he didn't believe it was 4-0, a game that he's very much so looked at as a really good learning point. That this is a game with, it's not a free hit, because I think Celtic fans are always going to want our team to win games, absolutely, but it's one that from the players' perspective that I think they'll learn a lot from and take a lot from.
Yeah, if you're looking at progression in this group, the Real Madrid isn't particularly where you're looking to gather your points from. You know, if we're being honest, they're the pot 1 team. They're last year's holder. We aren't banking on getting any points from either of our ties against Real Madrid. But what this does give us is the opportunity to see how we match up to these teams. You know, to see how close we are, to see how it's looking. And yet, no, it's not a free hit, because anyone coming to Celtic Park, we should be capable of doing something against. But it doesn't necessarily dent our hopes of progression not picking up a point here. You know, we have to look towards, you know, the other ties. We have to look at the other couple of games at home, see what we can do away in Berlin or away in Warsaw, where it's going to be. That for me is where we need to really be looking to pick up the points. We need to progress. And yeah, given the grip and the way we're playing, there's no reason why we can't do that. You know, we're talking about, we are going to go to the Bernabeu in November. By then, there's every chance that Real Madrid will have secured their progression. So again, that presents us with a different opportunity there. Like you've talked about, does that then become not the most important game of their season, depending on how things are going in their league? If they've already progressed, what are they really going to take from that game? So there's another opportunity for us to go away from home and do something. So I think the way that the group is played out, the way that the ties are structured with the dates actually really suits us. I think it's good to have this game first and good to have the away game against them last, with the sort of more pivotal games in the middle. It suits us. So, yeah, no progression is won or lost tonight, but you know, it helps get us off to a good start. And yeah, Paddy is absolutely right. I've never... Paddy's coming in the comments to say that he's never seen anyone so excited as me sitting here right now. And you're not wrong, Paddy. I am really excited. I'm buzzing for this. I think that's come across over the last hour. But yeah, I mean, do you know what? Again, win, lose, draw tonight. The fact that we are going into this game against, you know, last year's holders, feeling confident to take them on at Celtic Park. I mean, what's not to be excited about? In a matter of however many hours, we're going to be sitting in our seats at Celtic Park. The disco lights will be on and we're taking on Real Madrid. Who's not excited?
No, I'm absolutely buzzing for it. I cannot wait till later on today. I think if we could, we'd bring the game forward to the next hour or so. Unfortunately, we can't. I know that Michael in the comments is saying keep the show going on for another hour. Because this is really good build up to the game. I'm really enjoying this. I was already buzzing, but yeah, even more so. But Lawrence, you know what we've spoken about there, we had a really good crack in the Europa League last season with a team that was nowhere near probably Europa League standards in terms of the squad. We were very light at times. The ambition was always going to be the league. But this group will not be decided from a Celtic fan's perspective on how we perform, as Natasha says, against Real Madrid. You know, and Martin O'Neill was very clear to emphasise that last night too. You know, if there's ever been a group probably that Celtic's looked at and thinking we can maybe get out of that group, it's certainly this one, having teams like Shakhtar Donetsk and Leipzig in it. So there's no reason why we can't, you know, progress in Europe this season, whether that's maybe through to the unattainable target of the last 16. RB Leipzig are a very good footballing side. But for a Bundesliga side, from what I watched of them last season, not too impressed by them. I think they get hammered at the weekend by Eintracht Frankfurt too. So it's a group that I don't think is going to be decided by tonight, but I think a lot of lessons will be learned by tonight.
Well, listen, we learned lessons, I suppose, last year in Europe. You know, Ange Ball worked in stages, you know, for 20 minutes, 30 minutes. You know, look at that away against Betis. It was a worse squad. The players weren't as well drilled in it. You know, Jared's told us it's the second season that gets better, and the evidence of the game so far will look to be true. And this is a validation of, for Ange here. If he can go out and his system of football works against Real Madrid and we can put in a good showing, it's something to take forward into the other games. Because let's be honest, we're not going to change our style. We want to go out there and score. We want to go out, create chances. And if we do that tonight, we can take something from the game. I think all of us are really excited about it. But we've seen big games where we haven't been given a chance before. When Juventus have came to town, or Man United, or AC Milan, or Real Madrid the last time. And Barcelona, as the tagline said. And we've done it at Celtic Park because something magic does happen in European nights. It is a bit of a fairy tale. We've got Ange in charge. It's his first crack at the Champions League. His first game. Ancelotti's never won a game as manager at Celtic Park. Why not go and take 3 points?
Could be written in the stars. I found this earlier on, a really good image from one of the last times Celtic played Real Madrid from 1967 here, and Di Stefano's testimonial. And another thing to note, I think, to add into that, Lawrence, is competitively, it's Celtic 1-1, Real Madrid 1-1, and then we've got two, I was going to say friendly games. That game is certainly not a friendly game when the European champions rocked into the Santiago Bernabeu and beat them 1-0 with a masterclass from Jimmy Johnson, and Bobby Lennox getting the score sheet. We'd obviously played them first before that in 1962. But a game that a lot of people look at as possibly a wee bit of a change in face to Celtic back then. Celtic had not had a great run of years. It'd been 5 years since he'd won a trophy then. And we put in a good performance against Real Madrid. Next year we get to, 2 years later, we get to a European semi-final. So yeah, there's a lot to build into tonight's game. And just looking back here, I got it up when we were talking there about Betis. Our starting 11 in our first European game last season was Joe Hart in goals, a back four of Anfred Ralston, Cameron Carter-Vickers, Karel Starfelt and Josip Juranovic at left back. Remember when we used to do that?
Mm-hmm.
A midfield three of Tom Rogic, Ismaila Soro and David Turnbull, and a front three of Jota, Adam Montgomery in the left wing, and Albion Ayeti up top. So,
it's
that
pretty
was your
clear where we
European-
strengthened, isn't it? I mean, the different, defensively, yeah, I mean, that's still relatively strong and similar. But what we have done in terms of strengthening that front line is just, pretty incredible. And like we touched on earlier in the show, any team in Europe is scared of our forward line now. Not many teams, I would say, would be Europe would be particularly concerned about that forward line you just named against Betis. But now, we're light years ahead of where we were. Excellent recruitment. Yeah,
as excellent recruitment. And Lawrence, that team was the 16th of September 2021, so it's not even a year since that was the team lineup they were naming for our first game in Europe last season. And just to, I think we made one sub in that game, just looking here, who was James McCarthy. And the bench for Celtic that night, this is one that I'm sure will maybe make some of our viewers chuckle. Vasilis Barkas, Liam Scales, James McCarthy, Osazi Urigide, Scott Bain, Liam Shaw, Dane Murray, Ewan Henderson, and Stephen Welsh.
Wow. So
the difference from last season's matchday 1 in the Europa League to matchday 1 in the Champions League, Natasha, is absolutely night and day.
That is it, absolutely exemplified there is the bench. What we have available to us on the bench now compared to that is honestly, I think, going to be the difference both in Europe and domestically this season. Having those resources available to us, having not just 11 players who you're confident in, but 20 players that you're confident in, that's what's going to be the difference for us this season. And that's what's taken us in our style of football, the way we're playing, to the next level.
Yeah, absolutely. Lawrence, score prediction. Celtic's going to score tonight, and I'm agreeing with you. Celtic's going to win tonight. We are going to beat the European champions. I don't care if this gets clipped up in a video and end up follow or something. I really don't care. I have true belief in my football team tonight, and I've got full belief in Ange Postecoglou. Give us your score prediction.
2-0.
2-0 Celtic. Clean sheet for Big Joe.
Yes, another clean sheet for Joe.
Natasha?
Both teams to score. I don't like doing predictions for our games. I don't like doing it. I know that sounds sitting on the fence. But you know what? Like, we need to go in confident. Let's do it. Let's go in confident. And there's no reason why we can't get something out of the game.
No, there's absolutely no reason why we can't get something in the game. Thank you to everyone who's joined us in the comments. I've saw a few people coming through from Australia in the comments. You're very welcome. Who are up at 3 a.m, 5 a.m for this game. There's people set off from Ireland this morning to get over here to get the ferry and whatnot. I'm sure there'll be plenty of people arriving yesterday in Glasgow, today in Glasgow, coming in for this big showpiece game. The excitement is absolutely real. Really, really excited. Celtic back in the Champions League. We're up against the European champions, and let's just see what happens. Thank you for all our listeners. Lawrence, Natasha, enjoy the game this evening, and it's very much so. Come on the hoops, isn't it?
Yeah, it's time to dare to dream, to dare to win, isn't it?
Yes.
Who's going to be our Alan